Captain Robert Nash stood at the wide viewing window of the U.S. Intrepid, watching the stars drift by. His weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass, showing the worry lines that hadn't been there 6 months ago. The massive Earth Alliance flagship cruised through space with an easy grace that betrayed its true power. At his side, Lieutenant Amy Mitchell cleared her throat. "Sir, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command," she said, her voice tight with tension. "They're marking it as urgent." Nash turned away from the window, his blue uniform catching the soft light of the bridge. "Put it through to my ready room, Lieutenant." He paused, then added, "And get First Officer Carter up here." The walk to his ready room took exactly 23 steps. He counted them many times during sleepless shifts. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the small but comfortable office where he handled the ship's most sensitive matters. The screen on his desk was already blinking with the incoming transmission. Daniel Carter arrived just as Nash was sitting down. The first officer's usually neat brown hair was slightly messy, suggesting he'd been in the middle of his exercise routine. "Captain," he said, taking his place beside the desk. Nash pressed his palm against the reader, and the screen came to life. The stern face of Admiral Rogers filled the display. Without preamble, the Admiral spoke. "Captain Nash, the Galactic Council has issued an ultimatum to Earth." The captain felt his stomach tighten. The Galactic Council, a gathering of the most powerful spacefaring civilizations, rarely contacted Earth directly. When they did, it was never good news. "What kind of ultimatum, sir?" Nash asked, keeping his voice steady. "They want proof," Rogers said, his face growing darker. "Proof that humanity deserves its place among the stars. They're concerned about our reputation." Carter shifted his weight. "Our reputation, sir." "The world breakers," Rogers clarified. "Our special forces have gotten their attention. The Council has heard stories, seen reports. They're worried we're too dangerous to be left unchecked." Nash shared a look with Carter. Everyone knew about the world breakers, Earth's elite military units. Their name wasn't just for show. During the Centauri conflict 3 years ago, a single squad had accidentally destroyed a small moon while defending a colony. The incident had been classified, but rumors spread quickly in space. "What exactly do they want us to prove?" Nash asked. "They're organizing war games," Rogers explained. "Earth will face off against the top 5 military forces in the galaxy. They want to see our capabilities firsthand, in controlled conditions." The Admiral's image flickered slightly. "They say it's a friendly competition. We know better." Lieutenant Mitchell's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we're picking up approaching ships. 3 Arcturian vessels just dropped out of hyperspace." Nash felt his jaw tighten. The Arcturians were one of the oldest spacefaring races, known for their advanced technology and arrogant attitude toward younger species like humans. Their timing wasn't a coincidence. "Send them standard greetings," he ordered, then turned back to the Admiral. "They're already here to watch us, aren't they?" Rogers nodded. "The Council isn't waiting for our answer, Captain. They've already begun mobilizing their forces. The war games begin in 1 month." Carter stepped forward. "Sir, with all due respect, this is clearly a trap. They either want to humiliate us or learn our true capabilities." "Or both," Nash added. The Admiral's expression hardened. "Those thoughts have occurred to us as well. But we don't have a choice. If we refuse, they'll label us as hostile and impose sanctions. We'll be cut off from interstellar trade, diplomatic relations, everything we've built in the last century." Nash ran a hand through his graying hair. "What are our orders?" "The Intrepid will serve as Earth's flagship during the games. You'll be receiving a special passenger within the next 48 hours. Major Lisa Franklin and her World Breaker squad." Carter whistled low. World breakers on his ship. Nash understood his reaction. It was like being told you'd be transporting a natural disaster in human form. "Your first task is to escort them to the Harmony Point station for the initial diplomatic meeting," Rogers continued. After that, you'll proceed to the designated battle zone, an abandoned solar system in neutral space. The ship's AI chimed in with its calm voice. Captain, the Arcturian vessels are requesting permission to send a diplomatic shuttle. Nash looked at the Admiral. They're not wasting any time. Remember, Captain, Rogers said, his voice growing serious. This isn't just about proving our worth. If we show too much, we could spark a panic. If we show too little, we'll be deemed primitive and irrelevant. You'll need to find the balance. Understood, sir. Nash straightened in his chair. We won't let Earth down. The transmission ended, leaving Nash and Carter in silence. After a moment, Carter spoke. They're afraid of us. The Council, I mean. That's what this is really about. Nash stood up and walked back to the window. The Arcturian ships hung in space like silver arrows, their designs all smooth curves and elegant lines. Beautiful, deadly, and advanced. Yet they were worried about Earth's forces. Lieutenant Mitchell, he called over the intercom. Tell our guests they have permission to dock. And inform the crew we'll be having some special passengers joining us soon. He turned to Carter. Have quarters prepared for Major Franklin and her team. Something away from the main crew areas. Is that for the crew's safety or the world breaker's privacy? Carter asked with a slight smile. Both, Nash replied, not returning the smile. And Daniel, tell everyone to be on their best behavior when our Arcturian friends arrive. We don't want any incidents. As Carter left to carry out his orders, Nash remained at the window, watching the small shuttle detach from the nearest Arcturian vessel. The Galactic Council wanted to see Earth's capabilities. They wanted to understand why the world breakers were feared. He had a feeling they would regret their curiosity. Lieutenant Mitchell's voice came over the comm again. Captain, Major Franklin's transport just dropped out of hyperspace. They're requesting immediate docking clearance. Nash took a deep breath. And so it begins, he thought. Out loud, he said, grant them priority docking. And Lieutenant, make sure our Arcturian guests don't get too close to their ship when it arrives. Yes, sir, Mitchell replied, understanding perfectly. The game of hide and seek had already started. The only question was, who was really hiding and who was really seeking? The next month would answer that question. Nash just hoped the galaxy was ready for the answer. He watched as his second ship appeared, its design plain and unassuming. Deliberately so, he knew. Somewhere aboard that vessel were the soldiers that had the entire galaxy nervous. World breakers, Earth's secret weapon. The weapon wasn't quite the right word. Soon, everyone would understand why. The Rocky Mountains hadn't changed much in the past 4 centuries. They still stood tall and proud against the blue sky, their peaks covered in snow even in summer. But deep within their heart, hidden from prying eyes and orbital scans, the Earth Alliance had built something special. Major Lisa Franklin walked through the underground training facility, her boots making soft sounds on the polished floor. Behind her, Sergeant Paul Dixon carried a heavy crate of equipment, his muscled arms barely showing the strain. They passed through security checkpoints where guards stood straighter as they approached. Everyone knew what they were. World breakers weren't hard to spot if you knew what to look for. The U.S. Intrepid will be here in 6 hours, Dixon said, breaking the silence. Are we really going to show them what we can do? Lisa stopped at a large viewing window overlooking the main training area. Below, other members of her squad were running drills that would have seemed strange to most military observers. We'll show them exactly what command wants them to see. Nothing more, nothing less. In the training area, 2 soldiers moved in perfect sync with their combat suits. The suits looked simple, almost primitive compared to the advanced armor other species used. That was intentional. Dr. Catherine Walsh, their lead scientist, had designed them that way. Speaking of the doctor, Lisa spotted her approaching from the other end of the hallway, tablet in hand and excitement on her face. Major Franklin, you need to see this. The latest test results are beyond our expectations. Lisa smiled. Katie's enthusiasm was always infectious. Show me. The doctor held up her tablet, displaying a series of graphs and numbers. Remember the Centauri incident, when your team accidentally destroyed that moon? Hard to forget, Dixon muttered. That had been a bad day. They'd only meant to stop a pirate base, not reshape the local geography. It wasn't an accident, Katie said, her eyes bright. Well, the destruction was, but the energy output wasn't. Look at these readings. Lisa studied the data. She wasn't a scientist, but all world breakers learned enough to understand the basics. What she saw made her eyebrows rise. You're saying we did this naturally? Exactly. Katie could barely contain her excitement. Most species build bigger guns, more powerful ships, more advanced AI. But humans, we found a way to tap into something they don't even know exists. Dixon set down his crate and looked at the tablet. The sync effect. Katie nodded. When humans work together in perfect harmony, when we achieve that perfect state of flow, we don't just multiply our strength. We create something entirely new. Energy that shouldn't exist according to galactic science. Lisa remembered that day at Centauri. Her team had been in perfect sync, moving as one, their minds and bodies operating in complete harmony. They'd hit the pirate base with what should have been a standard strike. Instead, they'd cracked a moon in half. The door at the end of the hallway opened, and Commander Alan Roberts from Earth Command stepped through. His presence here meant things were getting serious. Major Franklin, he called out. Walk with me. Lisa nodded to Dixon and Katie, then fell into step beside the commander. They walked to a secure briefing room, where a holographic display showed the abandoned solar system where the war games would take place. The Arcturians have been watching our ships, Roberts said without preamble. They're trying to understand our capabilities. Their advanced sensors have been scanning everything. Let them look, Lisa replied. Our ships aren't what they should be worried about. Roberts smiled grimly. No, they shouldn't. But we have a problem. The Council isn't just testing us. They're hunting for something. Intelligence suggests they've detected unusual energy readings from Earth over the past decade. They think we're hiding advanced weapons. We are hiding something, Lisa said. Just not what they think. Exactly. And that's why this demonstration is so delicate. We need to show enough to earn their respect, but not enough to reveal the truth about world breakers. He paused the hologram on an image of the Intrepid. Captain Nash will be your cover. His ship will make it look like our technology is doing the work. Lisa thought about the strange quirk of human biology and psychology that made world breakers possible. How the right combination of training, technology, and human connection could tap into something that defied the laws of physics as the galaxy understood them. Have the other squads reported in? She asked. Roberts nodded. All world breaker teams are on standby. If things go wrong, if the Council's true intentions prove hostile. He left the sentence unfinished. They won't like what they find. Lisa completed the thought. She looked through the briefing room's window at the training area below. Her team was assembling now. 12 men and women who could reshape reality when they worked as one. A warning light flashed, indicating that someone was about to test the new combat suits. Lisa and Roberts watched as 2 of her team members entered the testing chamber. They moved slowly at first, getting used to the minimal armor that looked so primitive compared to the bulky combat suits other species used. Then they began to sink. It started subtly, their movements becoming more fluid, more coordinated. The air around them seemed to shimmer, though most viewing equipment wouldn't pick it up. Energy readings on the nearby monitors began to spike. Beautiful, isn't it? Katie had entered the room quietly, her tablet displaying the real-time data. They're barely trying, and look at these numbers. The 2 soldiers below were now moving faster than should be possible, their actions perfectly matched. The training drones they were fighting, based on advanced alien combat units, didn't stand a chance. Where other species relied on artificial gravity manipulation, shield technology, and energy weapons, The world breakers simply moved through space, as if physics was more of a suggestion than a law. The Council thinks they're going to evaluate our war technology, Roberts said softly. They have no idea they're about to witness the next stage of human evolution. Lisa watched her team members finish their exercise. Not a single shot had been fired, not a single conventional weapon used. The training drones lay in pieces, taken apart by hands moving too fast to see. 6 hours until the Intrepid arrives, Dixon called from the doorway. Teams ready for final preparations. Lisa nodded. Tell them to rest. They'll need it. She turned to Roberts. The Council wanted to know why they should fear Earth's world breakers. Fine. We'll show them. But they might not like the answer. As she left the briefing room, Lisa thought about the coming war games. The other species would bring their most advanced technology, their most powerful weapons. They would expect Earth to do the same. Instead, they would face something they couldn't understand. Humans working in perfect harmony, tapping into an energy that their science said couldn't exist. World breakers didn't need super weapons. They were the super weapons. And soon, the galaxy would understand why that was so terrifying. Harmony Point Station hung in space like a giant silver snowflake. The massive space station served as neutral ground for the galaxy's various species, its design incorporating architecture from a dozen different civilizations. As the U.S. Intrepid approached, Ambassador Ryan Cooper stood at the viewing window, straightening his formal diplomatic uniform. They're all here, Chief Engineer Jennifer Hayes said, looking at her tablet. 5 major powers, each with their flagship and support vessels. She pointed to different ships through the window. The Arcturian Empire, the Drachnid Dominion, the Vex Collective, the Meridian Alliance, and the Cronus Hierarchy. Captain Nash joined them at the window. Quite a welcome party. Any unusual readings from their ships? Jennifer nodded. They're all running active scans of us. Very detailed ones. The Arcturians seem particularly interested in our engine signature. Let them look, Nash said with a slight smile. They won't find what they're really searching for. The Intrepid docked smoothly at one of the station's main arms. Through the window, they could see other diplomatic vessels doing the same. Each one was a masterpiece of advanced technology, making the Earth ship look plain and outdated in comparison. Major Franklin appeared beside them, now wearing a formal military uniform instead of her training gear. My team is ready, she said quietly. They'll stay on the ship unless needed. Ambassador Cooper nodded. Remember, we're here to talk first. The war games don't begin for another week. He checked his tablet. The Arcturians requested the first meeting. Their High Commander Zixtal is apparently eager to meet us. I bet he is, Nash muttered. The Earth delegation made their way through the station's curved corridors. The artificial gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard, a small reminder that they weren't in charge here. Guards from various species stood at attention as they passed, their expressions unreadable behind environmental suits or alien features. The meeting room was large and circular, with a massive table made of some sort of shimmering crystal. Representatives from each major power were already seated when the Earth delegation arrived. Ambassador Cooper took his assigned seat, with Captain Nash and Major Franklin flanking him. Jennifer Hayes sat at a smaller technical console nearby. High Commander Zixtal of the Arcturian Empire spoke first. He was tall and elegant, his silvery skin catching the light. Welcome, representatives of Earth. We are pleased you accepted the Council's invitation. We're happy to participate, Cooper replied smoothly. Though we're curious about the sudden interest in our military capabilities. War Master Krell of the Drachnid Dominion leaned forward. Unlike the elegant Arcturian, Krell was massive and heavily armored, his voice deep and rumbling. Let's not play games. Your world breakers have caught our attention. We want to know what we're dealing with. Surely you don't fear our primitive technology, Cooper said mildly. As you can see from our ship, we're far behind your advancement level. The representative from the Vex Collective, a being that seemed to be made of shifting liquid metal, made a sound like tinkling bells. Your ship's design is irrelevant. We have detected energy signatures from Earth that should not be possible with your level of technology. Jennifer Hayes pretended to focus on her console, hiding a smile. They were so focused on technology, on finding some secret weapon or advanced science, they couldn't see what was right in front of them. The war games will reveal all, the Meridian representative said. She was humanoid but with iridescent skin and 4 arms. We have prepared appropriate challenges to test your capabilities. Major Franklin spoke for the first time. We look forward to learning from the experience. Something in her tone made the aliens shift uncomfortably. They had probably expected fear or nervousness from the humans. Instead, Franklin radiated calm confidence. There is one other matter, High Commander Zixtal said. We have reports of an incident in the Centauri sector. A moon was destroyed. A mining accident, Cooper replied smoothly. Unfortunate, but these things happen in frontier regions. The Crumis representative, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical suit, pulsed with light. Our analysis suggests otherwise. The energy signature matched no known weapon. Perhaps your analysis is incomplete, Franklin suggested. The meeting continued for another hour, a careful dance of questions and non-answers. The aliens tried to probe for information about Earth's capabilities, while the humans deflected with practiced ease. But underneath the diplomatic exchanges, tension built steadily. As they left the meeting room, Jennifer pulled up new data on her tablet. Captain, you need to see this. During the meeting, their ships were deploying some kind of advanced sensor network around the station. Nash took the tablet, frowning. They're not waiting for the war games. They're trying to gather intel now. There's more, Jennifer added. I detected encrypted communications between their ships. They're coordinating something. Of course they are, Franklin said. This whole thing is a setup. The war games, the diplomatic meeting. They're working together to figure out what we can do. Cooper nodded. The question is, why? Why are they so interested in us now? They reached a quiet corridor, and Franklin stopped walking. Permission to speak freely? Granted, Nash said. They're scared. Not of our ships or our weapons. They know they're superior in those areas. They're scared because they've seen things they can't explain. The Centauri incident, other encounters with world-breaker teams, were doing things their science says are impossible. Jennifer pulled up more data. The energy readings from their ships. They're not just scanning us. They're ready for combat. All of them. So much for friendly war games, Nash said grimly. Cooper straightened his uniform. Then we stick to the plan. Let them think they're in control. Let them think they're going to discover all our secrets. And when the games begin, Jennifer asked. Franklin's expression hardened. Then we show them exactly why they're right to be afraid. Not because we're dangerous, but because we're something they've never seen before. Something they can't control or understand. As they walked back to the Intrepid, the massive alien ships loomed in the viewport like predators waiting to strike. But they had no idea that they weren't the hunters in this scenario. They were about to learn why Earth's forces were called world breakers, and it had nothing to do with technology at all. The abandoned solar system looked empty and lifeless. Its red dwarf star cast a dim light on 3 dead planets, their surfaces scarred by ancient impacts. This would be their battlefield. Commander Scott Reynolds stood on the bridge of his support ship, watching as the massive alien fleets took their positions. They're not even trying to hide their numbers anymore, he said to Lieutenant Laura Bennett, his communications officer. No, sir, Laura replied, checking her displays. I count at least 30 ships from each species. They were supposed to bring only 10 each. On the main viewing screen, the U.S. Intrepid moved steadily forward, looking small and vulnerable compared to the alien armada. But appearances could be deceiving. Captain Nash's voice came over the secure channel. All Earth ships, maintain formation. Remember your training. Commander Reynolds, keep your distance until signals. Understood, Captain, Reynolds responded. He looked at his crew, all of them tense but ready. They knew what was coming. The first test was supposed to be simple, a rescue mission to a damaged station. Each species would send one ship to demonstrate their approach. The Arcturians went first, their sleek vessel moving with impossible grace. They completed the mission in 3 minutes, using advanced tractor beams and teleportation technology. The Drachnid ship was next, showing off their brute force approach with powerful energy shields and cutting beams. 4 minutes. The other species followed, each displaying technology that made Earth's capabilities look primitive in comparison. Then it was Earth's turn. Intrepid approaching the target, Laura announced. The aliens are scanning us heavily. Reynolds watched as the Intrepid moved toward the damaged station, but something was different about the ship's movement. It seemed to flow through space, not quite following the normal rules of physics. They're using standard engines, one of his officers said, confused. But these readings, this shouldn't be possible. Reynolds smiled. He knew what was happening. Aboard the Intrepid, Major Franklin's World Breaker team was working together, their combined focus affecting reality in ways alien science couldn't explain. The Intrepid completed the rescue in 2 minutes. Silence filled the communications channels. Then the Arcturian commander's voice. Impossible. Your thrust calculations don't match your movement patterns. Perhaps your sensors are malfunctioning. Nash replied calmly. The next test involved combat scenarios. Remote-controlled drones attacked in waves, testing each species' defensive capabilities. The aliens put on an impressive show. Energy shields flared, advanced weapons blazed, and artificial intelligence systems calculated perfect attack patterns. When Earth's turn came, something strange happened. The drones simply missed. Every shot, every missile, every attack somehow failed to connect. The Intrepid barely had to move, yet nothing could touch it. Their targeting systems must be faulty. The Drachnid War Master growled over the channel. Would you like to try manual control? Nash offered politely. They did. It made no difference. Reynolds watched his readings carefully. The alien ships were moving closer, tightening their formation around the Earth vessels. They were preparing for something. Sir, Laura said quietly, I'm picking up coded transmissions between their fleets. They're going to change the rules. Before Reynolds could respond, the Vex collective representative spoke. We propose an unscheduled exercise. All forces engage the Earth ships. Let us see how they handle a real challenge. The alien fleets moved as one, weapons charging. Over 100 ships against Earth's small fleet of 20. It should have been a slaughter. All ships, defensive pattern Delta, Nash ordered calmly. World Breaker teams, you have permission to demonstrate. Reynolds felt it before he saw it. A strange sensation, like reality hiccuping. On his ship, 3 World Breakers who had been quietly sitting in a side room stood up and joined hands. The alien fleet attacked. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic weapons fire filled space. Everything moved in slow motion. Earth's ships didn't dodge. They didn't need to. Space itself seemed to bend around them, every attack missing by millimeters. Physics took a holiday as the World Breakers worked in perfect sync. Impossible, someone shouted over the channel. Their ships have no shield technology, no defense systems. How are they? The sentence cut off as the Intrepid moved. Not like a ship should move, but like a thought given form. One moment it was surrounded. The next it was behind the alien fleet. Would you like to see what we can really do? Nash asked quietly. Without firing a single shot, the Intrepid passed through the alien formation. Ships began shutting down in its wake, their advanced systems going dark. Not destroyed, just turned off. Reynolds watched his displays in awe as his own World Breaker team went to work. Space rippled around his ship like water, attack after attack sliding past harmlessly. This isn't technology, the Arcturian commander said, his voice shaking. What are you? We tried to tell you. Nash replied. "We're not advanced. We're just different." The alien fleet regrouped, charging weapons for another attack. But something had changed. Their perfect formation was ragged now, their confidence shaken. Laura looked up from her console. "Sir, the World Breakers are requesting permission to show them why we got our name." Reynolds nodded. "Granted." On the main viewer, 3 Earth ships moved in perfect formation. Their World Breaker teams worked in harmony, their combined power reaching across space. Reality shuddered. A small moon orbiting one of the dead planets cracked. Not from weapons fire or energy beams, but from the World Breakers simply willing it to happen. The crack spread, growing larger until the moon split in half, its pieces drifting apart silently. All channels went quiet. That, Nash said into the silence, was with only 9 World Breakers working together. "Would you like to see what all 50 on our ships can do?" The alien fleet began to retreat. "I think they're starting to understand, sir," Laura said with a small smile. Reynolds watched the alien ships pull back, their perfect formation forgotten. "No," he said, "they're just beginning to understand. And that's what scares them most of all." The war games were supposed to last another week. They ended that day with the alien fleet returning to Harmony Point Station to discuss the implications of these developments. As Reynolds looked at the broken moon, he wondered what they would tell their governments. How do you explain that humans had evolved past the need for advanced technology? That they could reshape reality itself when working together? The truth was, they couldn't explain it. And that was exactly why Earth's World Breakers were so feared. Captain Michelle Peterson's stealth ship drifted silently through the debris field that was once a moon. Her crew worked quietly, taking readings of the scattered rocks. Technical Sergeant Eric Turner stood at her side, his expert eyes scanning the data as it came in. Major Franklin's team did this with just thought and willpower, Eric said softly. No weapons, no technology, just humans working together. "That's what scares them," Michelle replied, watching the alien ships that still hung at the edge of the system. They hadn't left, despite ending the war games early. Instead, they seemed to be waiting for something. Her ship's AI pinged quietly. "Captain, we're picking up unusual energy readings from the largest Arcturian vessel." Michelle leaned forward. "Show me." The readings appeared on her screen, and Eric whistled low. "That's not normal. They're powering up something big." Before they could investigate further, an urgent message came through from the U.S. Intrepid. Captain Nash's face appeared on the screen, looking grim. "Captain Peterson, get your ship back here now. We've discovered something." The trip back to the Intrepid took only minutes. Michelle and Eric rushed to the main briefing room, where they found a tense gathering of officers and world breakers. Dr. Catherine Walsh was there too, her usual excitement replaced by concern. "Show them," Nash ordered. Katie pulled up a series of complex readings on the main screen. "We've been so focused on what they were doing, we didn't see what they were looking for." She pointed to a particular pattern in the data. "This energy signature, it's not from us. It's not from them either. It's coming from outside the galaxy." The room went quiet. Michelle studied the readings. "What is it?" "Something old," Katie said. "Very old, and it's getting closer." Nash took over. "The Arcturians didn't organize these war games to test us. They did it because they detected these energy signatures and thought we were responsible. They thought we were hiding some ancient technology. But we weren't," Eric said. "No," Major Franklin spoke up from her corner. "We weren't, but we might be the only ones who can stop what's coming." Katie brought up more data. "The aliens have been fighting this thing for centuries. It appears every few hundred years, destroys a few civilizations, then disappears. Their advanced technology can't stop it. That's why they were so interested in us." "Because we don't use technology," Michelle realized. "We change reality itself." "Exactly." Nash pointed to the alien fleet on the tactical display. "They're preparing for battle. Not with us. With that, he indicated the approaching energy signature. And they want our help. As if on cue, a message came through from High Commander Zixtal. His silver face looked strained. Captain Nash, we owe you an explanation. We figured it out, Nash replied. The ancient threat, the real reason for the war games. Zixtal nodded. We needed to know if you could help. Our most advanced weapons barely scratch it. But you do things we thought impossible. Show us everything you know about it, Nash said. The data began flowing in. Michelle and Eric watched in growing horror as they saw recordings of previous encounters with the entity. Entire worlds went dark. Advanced civilizations fell in days. No weapon, no shield, no technology could stop it. It feeds on technology, Katie explained as she analyzed the data. The more advanced the civilization, the more it's drawn to them, the more it consumes. That's why Earth was overlooked for so long, Franklin added. We weren't advanced enough to attract its attention. But now we are, Michelle said. No, Eric corrected her. Now we're different enough to fight it. The tactical display suddenly lit up with warnings. The entity had arrived at the edge of the system. On screen, it looked like a storm of dark energy, vast beyond comprehension. All World Breaker teams, Franklin commanded, prepare for sync. Michelle felt it immediately. That strange sensation when reality started paying attention to human will rather than physical laws. Around the fleet, 50 World Breakers began working in perfect harmony. The alien ships held position, their weapons powered down. They had learned their lesson about technology. What do you need us to do? Zixtal asked. Stay back, Nash ordered. Your technology will only make it stronger. This is our fight now. The entity moved closer, its dark mass distorting space itself. But where it encountered the zone affected by the World Breakers, it seemed to hesitate. It's never felt anything like us before, Katie said, watching her readings. We're not technology. We're not even using energy it can recognize. Franklin's voice was steady. All teams, full sync. Show it why we're called World Breakers. Michelle watched in awe as reality rippled. The World Breakers weren't fighting with weapons or ships. They were rewriting the laws of physics around the entity, creating a space where it couldn't exist. The entity fought back. Dark tendrils of impossible energy reached for the Earth ships. But they couldn't touch them. Space itself refused to let the attack connect. My God, Eric breathed. They're not destroying it. They're teaching reality to reject it. He was right. Everywhere, the World Breakers focused their combined will. Space became hostile to the entity's existence. It tried to feed, to consume, to destroy. But there was nothing for it to consume. No technology to feed on. Just humans working together to tell the universe. No. The entity began to retreat, but the World Breakers didn't let up. They pushed harder, 50 minds working as one, showing the laws of physics how to defend themselves. On the tactical display, the dark mass grew smaller, not from damage, but from the universe simply refusing to let it stay. The readings, Katie said excitedly. They're changing. The entity, it's not just leaving. It's being locked out of our reality. Michelle looked at her own displays. The World Breakers had done something unprecedented. They hadn't destroyed the entity. They had changed the fundamental rules it operated on. When it was over, when the entity had fully retreated, the alien fleet remained silent for a long time. Finally, Zixtal spoke. Now we understand. You're not powerful because of what you can break. You're powerful because of what you can change. That's why we're feared, Nash replied simply. Not because we're destructive, but because we're transformative. Michelle looked at her crew, at the World Breakers recovering from their effort, at the aliens watching with new understanding. The war games had revealed something all right, just not what anyone had expected. Humanity wasn't feared because they could break worlds. They were feared because they could change them. And sometimes, That was far more important. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. Admiral Sarah Blackwood stood before the gathered representatives of every major spacefaring race, her Earth Alliance uniform standing out among their elaborate clothing and environmental suits. Dr. Christopher Morgan, Earth's leading expert in alien psychology, stood beside her. They had just finished showing the recording of the battle against the ancient entity. The silence stretched on. Finally, High Commander Zixtel spoke. "We owe humanity an apology. We thought you were hiding weapons, hoarding advanced technology. We were wrong." "You were looking for the wrong thing," Sarah replied. "Humanity's strength was never in our technology." The Drachnid War Master Krell leaned forward. "The World Breakers. We thought they were some kind of super soldiers. But there's something else entirely." Dr. Morgan nodded. "They're the next step in human evolution. When humans work together in perfect harmony, we can do something unique. We can suggest changes to reality itself." On the massive screen behind them, they showed new footage. Training sessions where world breakers worked together. Simple exercises that defied the laws of physics. Things that alien science said were impossible. "We don't fully understand it ourselves," Sarah continued. "But we know this. It only works when humans connect deeply with each other. When we achieve perfect sync, perfect trust, perfect cooperation." The Vex Collective representative's liquid metal form rippled. "This is why our technology couldn't detect your capabilities. We were scanning for energy signatures, for advanced machines. But your power comes from consciousness itself." "Yes," Christopher confirmed. "The world breakers aren't weapons. They're teachers, showing the universe new ways to work." The chamber's lights dimmed slightly as they played the next recording. It showed Major Franklin's team during the battle with the entity. The aliens watched in fascination as the humans worked together, their combined will literally changing how local space behaved. "That's why the entity retreated," Sarah explained. "It couldn't adapt to what we did because we weren't fighting it. We were teaching reality how to reject it." "And this power?" the Meridian representative asked. "Any human can learn it." "Potentially," Christopher said. "But it requires something many find difficult: complete trust and harmony with others. No ego, no individual agenda. Perfect unity." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some aliens were excited, others worried. The idea that consciousness itself could reshape reality challenged everything they believed about the universe. Captain Nash and Major Franklin entered the chamber. They had been waiting outside, and their timing was perfect. "We understand your concerns," Nash said to the council. "You're worried about what humans might do with this ability. But think about what it requires. Perfect cooperation, perfect trust. It's impossible to use this power for selfish reasons." Franklin stepped forward. "We're not here to dominate or control. We're here to help protect the galaxy. The entity will return someday, and there will be other threats like it. Threats that technology alone can't stop." Sarah smiled. This was the moment she had been waiting for. "That's why we're proposing the formation of a new organization, a joint defense force that combines your advanced technology with our unique abilities." The chamber went quiet again. Christopher watched the aliens carefully, reading their reactions. Some showed clear interest, others uncertainty. "How would this work?" Zixtel asked. "We start small," Sarah explained. "Joint training exercises, cultural exchange programs, learning to understand each other at a deeper level. The world breakers can teach their techniques to those who are willing to learn. And in return," Krell rumbled, "you teach us about the galaxy, about the threats we might face. We work together, combining our strengths." Nash stepped forward. "During the war games, you wanted to know why Earth's world breakers were feared. Now you know. It's not because we can break things. It's because we can change them, help them evolve, grow." Franklin smiled. "And here's something we haven't told anyone yet." She nodded to Sarah. Sarah pressed a button, and new footage played. It showed a training session where a non-human, an Arcturian scientist, had successfully joined a world-breaker sync. The council chamber erupted in excitement. "It's difficult," Christopher explained over the noise. "It requires tremendous dedication and trust. But it's possible. The ability isn't limited to humans. We're just the first to discover it." "This is why we were feared," Nash said quietly. "Not because we could destroy worlds, but because we could change how everyone sees reality itself." The council deliberated for hours. In the end, they voted unanimously to accept Earth's proposal. The Galactic Defense Initiative was born. As they left the chamber, Sarah looked at her companions. "They still don't know everything, do they?" Franklin shook her head. "No, they don't know that what we showed them is just the beginning. That humans working together can do so much more." "They'll learn," Christopher said, "when they're ready. When they understand that the real power isn't in breaking or changing reality. It's in teaching reality how to grow," Nash finished. "How to evolve. How to become more than what it was." Outside the council chamber, ships from a dozen species hung in space. Among them, Earth vessels looked simple and unimpressive, but appearances could be deceiving. The universe was about to learn a new way of existing. And humanity, the species that everyone had underestimated, would be the teachers. The world breakers had lived up to their name. They had broken the old way of thinking, the old limitations, and in doing so, they had opened the door to something greater than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.